Okay, we're at a friend's house, and they have a water leak, and they have some old piping. This is 1/2-inch galvanized piping, and it's probably about 50 to 60 years old. And there's a leak that has formed down here on the lower section. You know, and we could try to just repair like the union, but I see that there's some misalignment here, and so the proper fix is going to be, we're going to cut this off using a little thumb cutter. We're going to solder on a new 90. We're going to make an adapter for the Aquapex tubing, and then we're going to extend the piping. We're going to get rid of this section of piping just because if we're going to do a repair and we have to make connections on each side, we might as well replace as much as we can during the process. And the other thing they want to do is they want to finish their basement, and so what we're going to do is we're also going to move the piping all the way up against the floor joist. We're not going to drill through them because there is other things that are below the floor joist, but we'll attach it directly to the bottom of the floor joist. Instead of just hanging down here in limbo like it is right now, we're going to we'll come like this, over here. Mm-hmm. We're going to come up the wall here. We're going to let it flex and then swing all the way in. We're going to come down this way along the top. And then we're going to tie in over here by the water heater. And let me grab a flashlight so you can see, because our camera does not have flash. So this is the piece of pipe that we're replacing, all the way in to this fitting right here. And that's, I mean, we could have gone to the coupling, but an extra 5 feet of pipe and we're into this fitting here. And so we're going to take a 1/2-inch male adapter, and then we'll have a small piece of pipe, a reducer coupling, and then we'll be hooking on to the 3/4-inch pipe that we're running of Aquapex. So we're going to start tearing this out. I'm going to make a cut in here, and then we're going to take the pieces of pipe out of both sides, and we'll get the other pipe, the other side of it ready, and then we're just going to be connecting the dots. So we're going to experience some time travel, and we're going to pause the video for a second. Okay, so we're making a cut on the copper piping. We've shut off the valve, and now we're going to make a cut, and we're going to be getting some water out of here. I've opened up the faucet in the downstairs bathroom.
Now, hang on. Are there any first steps to this? Like, do we need to make sure the water's shut off?
I just said I opened up the faucet in the downstairs bathroom.
I was making sure that in the very beginning that people made sure that
Right,
they turned their water off.
Make sure that the water's off.
That's all.
Because if not, you can make a real big mess real quick. So
I just wanted to be
Yes, I
specific.
opened up the faucet in the downstairs bathroom, and so that relieved the pressure that's in the house.
I was going to say, common sense is not so common in our society. So some things we need to spell out.
And this is actually a pretty simple repair, especially with some of the new fittings and stuff that you can buy. You know, home repairs can be done pretty simply with. I don't care to use them just because I like a little bit more of a positive, you know, method of joining pipes. But there's fittings called like shark bites that are just slip-on fittings, and they work. And then you can just replace the section of pipe in between them. And you know what? Before we do this, though, I don't like the way this is going to be hanging, and then it's not going to be supported at all. So we're going to support that piping a little bit before we finish cutting, and we can
just
do
to make
that
sure no one
with
gets hurt.
These little clamps like this, and okay, well that nail
You want another one?
bent. Yeah. Okay, so we'll do this again. And you snap it around, shove the nail through, and then we're going to just support this pipe up here. Actually, sorry, that's the thing with plumbing, is you just have to have some patience sometimes. So we'll go down right here.
That's like everything in life.
Okay, so now we're going to get this piece cut off here, and now we don't have to worry about that piece of pipe dropping down and breaking off something, you know, a little bit deeper into the house that we don't really want to mess with. At least with the number of parts that we have today right now to help our print out.
And a bucket is always nice to have to make sure that you don't make a giant mess.
For sure. And then sometimes you do things creatively to keep it dripping in the bucket.
Because any moisture down your walls, you stand a chance of rotting your walls, right?
Yeah, or, I mean, yeah, it's a wooden wall, so we just didn't want any water to leak back behind there. Now this is some abrasive cloth. This is an open mesh cloth. And we're going to use that to clean the end of our pipe. Because copper pipe, you have to have it clean, and it has to be dry in order for you to solder. And so we're going to make sure that all the moisture is out of the inside of the pipe. I'll hold my torch underneath here a little bit, and that's going to make it bubble out. And then I'm going to show you how to solder. And you want to try to keep any of your oils from your skin off of the copper. So I'm not touching the copper. And besides, we're going to wipe it down again before we actually solder.
Why do you want your oils from your skin not to touch it?
It would contaminate the soldered joint. And we're going to be putting some acid flux on it as well. And that makes, it's called wetting the joint. So when you wet the joint, it allows the solder to flow more freely.
Do you want to be breathing any of these fumes or anything like that, or do you want to make sure to have an open air space?
I don't think the copper is too much of an issue. I mean, I've been plumbing for 22 years, and I'm in very, very good health. But yeah, I mean, it's never a good idea to be breathing the fumes as they come off. So you wouldn't want to be holding your head like right here while you solder.
Right.
But so you're going to be kind of soldering it almost arm's length, and that's
okay.
Most efficient. And let's see. So our fittings.
I want to make sure that there's no unasked questions.
Okay, so our fittings, this is a PEX adapter, and this is going to fit inside the 90, like that. So we're going to solder this one in, and we're going to solder the 90 onto our pipe at the same time, because once you heat the joint up, it's real easy to go ahead and hit both sides of it to get it to flow. And so you want to clean the inside of your fittings. And you can use like a little piece of the sand cloth and move it to the inside of it. They make these fitting brushes, and I do a lot of plumbing, so I have the cool tools. And we're going to be cleaning the outside of this fitting, because that's going to be a soldered edge. The reason that we clean it going around the fitting is that puts little grooves into the adapter, or into this socket, the joint. And so we've got little grooves that go around like this, and we've got little grooves that go around like that. And that really gives something for the solder to hook onto. And so right now we're just going to make sure that all the water...
And
no, my torch is empty. But I bet you they have propane tank somewhere. Hopefully. That's embarrassing. Okay. So we're going to pause.
Time travel?
Okay, so in all that time travel, we recognized that I forgot about the little volume control on the back of the torch. And turning that up actually allows it to burn.
Oh, so plumbing is like life, and sometimes you just got to keep it simple.
Sometimes you got to keep it simple. Sometimes you have to slow down and think a little bit. So we're just going to heat this up a little bit. We're going to raise the temperature. We're going to bubble out any water that's sitting there. This is a ball valve, and they work pretty good for holding back. As soon as you start getting a little bit of green, you can tell that you're burning the copper. So
Okay.
you know that's enough heat. So
it's just enough to dry it.
it's just enough to dry it out.
Okay.
And then we've got
Dang.
this acid flux, and we're gonna put that on the joint.
Now, do we want to wear gloves if we're going to be handling that?
I've never had it irritate my skin, but I wear gloves primarily when I'm soldering because of the high heat involved.
Okay.
And I didn't bring a towel for that, so I'm going to use my
That
bag.
stinks.
It does. Okay, so we're going to put a little bit of a coating on the inside of the fitting.
A coating of the acid?
The flux.
Okay.
And then we're going to put a little bit more on here, on the outside of the pipe. And you do not have to clean the inside of the pipe. So then we're going to put our 90 on there. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to coat the outside of this fitting. And I could probably benefit from investing in a few more cents and some tools with some little brushes that aren't so burned up. Anyway, and so we're going to drop that right in there. And we're just going to kind of position it to where we want it. And then we're going to raise the temperature to the whole fitting and the piping. And then when I get it to the point in which the solder will melt, I'm going to move the heat to the inside of the joint on the bottom, and I'm going to be applying the solder to the top. And when you can get that heat, well, you'll see. It'll just flow right into it. Okay, we're almost there already, and I can drop this in. I'm going to pull it to the back of the joint. The solder is going to move to the hottest point of the fitting. It's called capillary attraction. And so now we're going to hit the top of the fitting. We're going to warm up the thing inside to this brass. And it's going to take just a little bit longer to heat up than that copper. And then we're going to pull it in. And we're going to just kind of coat right across the top of each of the, on the joint. And it pulls it in. So you don't want to overheat your fitting.
Is there a way to tell if you're overheating it?
If you're getting green smoke, green flames coming past it, you're burning up the fitting.
Okay.
So that's too much heat.
Okay.
So that's it. That's the soldered connection. And then once it cools, you can see it's like liquid right now, but with a little bit of a blowjob, it solidifies. Once it's solidified, it's a pretty safe, reliable joint that you can handle. And we will end up taking a rag, a little bit of water, and cleaning everything. And so we're going to go ahead and pause it again while we get out the other material and get rid of this piping here. And this piping here, we're just going to, actually I think we'll just be able to take it apart. So I'm going to take it apart from this point up to that 90, and then from that 90 over at the T by the water heater. You know, we'll take it apart and then we'll be right back with you.
All right. Okay. Oh, and go.
Okay, when they're kind of difficult, you want to put what's called a backup wrench. So you don't want to damage any of the piping that you're not wanting to demo. So we've got a backup wrench on the fitting, and then we've got our other primary pipe wrench, and we're loosening it up that way. And once it's loose, then it's pretty easy to do by hand. And
yeah, just make sure it doesn't fall out and thunk you in the head.
Okay. Now we're going to go down to the next spot, but that's in the dark, so we'll pause it again.
All right, baby.
Okay, so this is the piece that we've used before, and then we had to tear out. It was used like for testing a system, but we like to reuse anything that's capable of being reused. And so I'm going to show you how to put on Teflon tape. So I'll do it over my shoulder, so that way you're holding your fitting in your left hand, you're holding the Teflon tape in your right with the tape off the bottom. Okay, so you're holding it just like this, and this is how you can maintain tension on it. So you're going to pinch it with your thumb, stretch it a little bit, leaving your first thread open. You're going to come around, and then you're going to bring your finger over to this side. You're going to hold it in place while you overlap that joint. And for old piping, brass going into steel, I like to do about 5 wraps. And then when you come in, you just kind of pinch it off like that, and then it kind of nice and tightens on it. You have to go clockwise on this, because if you go counterclockwise, when you screw it in, it'll unravel, and it doesn't work well. So we're going to screw this one into the fitting over by the water heater, and we'll be cutting it off about right here, and then I'll be showing you how to make one of these connections using the appropriate tools and the methods that we use. So it'll be just another minute. Okay, so here we are. We're getting ready to show you how to make the connections with the Aquapex tubing. And this is already a fairly straight cut, but I'm going to demonstrate how you do a cut. And this is the same kind of tool used by like the mobsters to remove fingers, but today we're going to be using it for piping.
Also effective on goat hooves.
Right. So what you're going to do is you're going to put a little bit of pressure on it. You're going to move it back and forth just a little bit.
Very similar to how we cut the pipe over here.
And then you're just going to squeeze and let it roll right through. And it's that simple to make that cut. Then we're going to put the ring, and there's different types of fittings. But this is the way to do the Zern pecs. And we're going to push. I don't know how well you can see it, but you can. There's a little flange on the fitting. That's going to go all the way up against the metal that is all the way onto the pipe. Then we have our tool here. We take it and we put our tool equally on both sides, and we start ratcheting it in. Excuse me. And then it stops, and then there's a little release mechanism over here. And if you don't have this tool runs about $60 to $80. But you can also do it with this. You just have to be careful. You want to go in just far enough where you don't break the fitting. If you break it, if you hear a snap or that band becomes loose, you need to make sure you take it all the way back off and redo it. So what we're going to do up there is we have a piece of the blue 1/2 inch Aquapex coming off of the T by the water heater.
That piece that we just put on.
We're going to cut that off to an appropriate length where it would be easy to work on. We're going to put this little ring on it, and then we're going to slide it over the 1/2 inch side of the fitting, and then we're going to crimp it the same way we just did for this 3/4. We are then going to push the 3/4 inch pipe up along the floor joist, and it needs to be every 32 inches that we support the piping, and it looks like our floor joists are going to be every other floor joist will be able to support it. But anytime you see that if the pipe's sagging, or if you're wanting to control the angle, it's best to just go ahead and throw in an extra support. They only cost like 10 or 20 cents, so might as well do the job right versus having to come back and do it over because it didn't work right. So we'll get that started, and then we'll show you our progress. And make sure you stick it above anything that needs to be, or it needs to be above of. And then we're gonna push it all the way on there.
And then we're gonna clamp it like we did on the other one that we showed you up close.
Okay, and when it quits ratcheting, that's when it's at the right tension. Okay, and that is a completed connection. Your 3/4 inch pipe-a-rooney, and then you've got your clamps. You got your fitting in the middle. You've got a clamp, and then you've got your male adapter. And this is a male iron pipe because it has the exposed threads. Female would be on the receiving side, just like in human sexuality and most everything in nature. Okay, when you start your, are you soldering? Yeah. Okay. When you start this, you want to make sure that you are about in line. You don't want to be trying to hold it like way off crazy, because you're just putting extra stress on the joint. So these, I don't know, we call them snails, but I don't know what they're really called. They're a nail and pipe support clamp, and these are the best ones that I've been able to find. I think they're made by Sioux. They're a good brand and a good manufacturer. They really make some good quality product.
Hang on. And it all just really tucks back in real nicely.
We're gonna donate the help. You got away from me.
Why are you putting an extra one there?
Just on the corners. I like to try to help it hold its shape. That way, if somebody ever did move it around, it is unlikely to become pinched or kinked. And this piping is really, really cool. It can, if it freezes, it can freeze up to 3 times its size. So I mean, it could actually be like this big around to before it splits. And if it did freeze, it would look kind of like a little bumpy sausage thing. You can just take it and you warm it all back up, and it just goes right back to its normal size.
With like a hairdryer, not a flame torch.
Yeah, you don't want direct flame on this kind of piping. But like a heavy duty, like a heat gun or a hairdryer, if that's all you got, that will work.
That's how we put it on the wall to make sure.
Yeah, we're going to take their little thing. I don't have my fancy little tool. So
Ooh, now we're getting close to where we're going to have to cut it. But you see how much nicer that looks?
And it don't leak.
And it doesn't leak. Yeah, that's the main thing. That's the main thing. And now it's colorful.
Now what we're going to do is we take this, we're going to bring this up so it's level.
Okay.
And then we're going to mark it with our thumbnail.
Hang on. Where do you want to mark it? At the very top of your joint or the very bottom?
Where this is going to go all the way down onto the pipe. So we're gonna make that level, and then we're gonna mark it with our thumb. And I think I left the cutter all the way over there. No, I didn't. It's right here. So then we're going to take this, just like we did before. We're going to come back and forth and cut right through.
Bam!
And so now we just need a 3/4 inch clamp and our handy dandy tool.
Had to use that tool a lot this time.
You want to make sure there's no debris. You know, you want to make sure that, because if there's like any little rocks or any dirt in here, it can cause that band to break prematurely. And we don't want that. These are our friends, and we don't want them to have any problems with their plumbing. That's why we're here. So
then you got to use a little muscle.
In there. And then we're going to pinch this back. Right like that. And now we're ready to turn the water back on.
Now, do we want to do this slow and gradually, or full force, just balls to the wall?
Balls to the wall is not the way to do it. Whenever you're turning the system back on, you want to do it slowly. So you're going to crack it until you can hear the water flowing through it.
Which is that hissing sound, in case you don't know.
And then I'm going to go to the bathroom that I open up the faucet, and I'm going to make sure that all the air has come out of the pipe and that water's flowing. Once we have the water flowing, we'll turn the water off at the faucets, and that's going to pressurize the system. When it's not making any more noise coming through the valve, you know that your system is pressurized, and that's when you check for leaks. And the really, I guess the arrogant plumber puts away his tools before he even turns it back on. But I've been doing it long enough to know that Murphy lives. And even after you've been plumbing for 22 years, there is a chance that something can go wrong. So, you know, especially when you try to do it on video. That's when it promotes it to the world. So, anyway, I mean, don't if you have something go wrong. I mean, you know, because even in every learning curve, you're going to have failure. You know, and if failure beats you, well then you're done. But if you try it again, and you try again, and you try again until you get it, it's still cheaper than hiring a plumber.
Mm-hmm. And you'll feel so good about yourself if you try something new, and even if you do have a couple failures, once you can work through those, you'll be able to sit back and go, oh, I did that.
Well, and then you can be the guy, you can be that guy or that girl at any of your friendly gatherings, that when somebody has a problem, you say, hey, I know how to do that. I can help you out. Mm-hmm. I've fixed my house before. I can help you fix yours. I can save you a couple $100. Because a repair like this, time lapse with everything involved, we've been about an hour and a half involved with me grabbing my materials together and coming over to our friend's house and doing the job. An hour and a half when I was a plumbing contractor, that would have been $127.50 for labor. And then we're only looking, let's see, we have 20 feet of pipe and 1, 2, 3, 4 fittings, $12, about $20 to $25 in parts. But you get a markup, 50% or 40% when you're selling material. And so I mean, this repair would have cost you probably $180 to $200. And our friend is just going to compensate us for the piping and the fittings, and so we're just doing it out of being nice. When you're not in a work debt cycle or in the debt slavery, you have more time to be able to just do things for people instead of trying to make money with every hour, every minute that you're working. It's just the way you want to live your life. And I used to have to charge for all of my time because I was in that debt cycle. When you're not in the debt cycle, though, charity is much easier to come by.
And what you put out, you get back. Whether is just helping a friend with their plumbing, or giving a smile.
I mean, maybe they'll come over and help us with their garden. So
right.
Yeah, it's all just it's a reciprocal life when we allow it to be.
Yep.
So anyway, that's how the repair's done, and if we do have any problems, we'll show you how to fix those.
Yep. All right. Have a good day.
Thanks.